Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. So many of you have been sharing your stories about feeling just totally overwhelmed with language learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've also sent in some really great ideas about the best daily habits you've been trying.
So many good ones.
And that's what we're going to dig into today. So we're going to take those insights and give you some very concrete, easy to implement strategies.
I like that. Easy to implement.
Yeah, to make language learning just a natural part of your life, like brushing your teeth.
Exactly. Yeah. Make it seamless. Integrate it into your daily life. That keeps coming up in everything you've sent in, which is so powerful. Those short bursts of consistent engagement.
Much better than those long, infrequent study sessions that leave you feeling burnt out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we are going to explore today, how to actually integrate language learning into your day-to-day life.
Perfect. Okay, so let's unpack this. What are those daily habits?
Okay, so we've got 5 key habits.
5 key habits, all right.
That really stood out from everything you guys sent in. Active listening, vocabulary building, short focused study sessions, and then regular speaking practice.
Okay, so 4.
Oh, did I? I think I missed one.
Did you miss one? Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to go back and figure out what that 5th one was. But for now, let's focus on these 4 and we'll break each of them down
Sounds good.
and we'll show you how they all fit together
Perfect.
to create an effective approach to language learning.
The key here is to give you those straightforward steps, that you can start using today, no matter what level you're at,
Exactly, yeah.
and hopefully get some of those aha moments
Absolutely.
without being totally overloaded with information.
We don't want to overwhelm you even more.
All right, so let's start with active listening.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is fascinating to me.
It is really interesting. It's the difference between hearing a language and truly engaging with it.
Right, right.
And you guys have highlighted this so well, how those everyday activities like your commute or even doing chores around the house
Right.
can become opportunities to learn by consciously listening to content in your target language. So that could be podcasts, music, audiobooks.
It's not just background noise, though.
Yeah.
The information you all sent really emphasized using transcripts and actively looking up words that you're not familiar with.
That active component is so important because just having it on in the background isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, and there are so many great resources out there.
Absolutely.
The real win here is that you're taking those unproductive moments and making them learning opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah, you're turning that dead time into something productive.
Consistent exposure without even needing to find extra time. That's really the key.
Okay, so that kind of leads us into the next habit, vocabulary building.
Yeah, so important because you can't speak a language without words, right?
Right, exactly.
So many of you mentioned flashcards or apps that use spaced repetition systems,
Yeah.
SRS.
Which are those algorithms that determine when to show you a word again based on how well you know it?
Yeah, so it's not just memorizing a list of words, it's actually making sure that you're seeing them right when you're about to forget them.
Exactly.
And that's the key.
Yeah, because if you're just using rote memorization, you're probably not going to retain that information very well.
Yeah, and it's so much more efficient, so much more effective. And a big thing that you guys emphasized is that the focus should really be on high-frequency words, like the words that you're going to be using day to day.
Exactly, yeah. And your sources likely touched on the forgetting curve, right? That's what these SRS apps leverage. It's this idea that we forget information over time. So the key is to review it right before you're about to forget it.
Right. And I love the tip about labeling items around your house with Post-it notes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Such a simple idea,
Yeah.
but it just forces you to see those words over and over again in a natural context.
Exactly, yeah. And it's so easy to do. Just grab a stack of Post-it notes and start labeling everything. And another thing that came up a lot was the idea of pulling new words from the content you're engaging with and then reviewing those words in sentence context.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So, like, when you're listening to a podcast or reading a book, you're going to come across new words.
Yeah.
And instead of just glossing over them, take the time to write them down, look up their definitions, and then practice using them in sentences. And that's really going to help you cement those words in your memory.
Precisely. Because you're seeing them in a real context. So you're not just learning the word in isolation, you're learning how it's actually used. And if we think about this in the bigger picture, having a richer vocabulary is directly going to boost your ability to understand and express yourself in your target language.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which leads us to our next point. Short, focused study sessions.
Yes, this is crucial for avoiding that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Absolutely, because if you're trying to cram everything in at once, you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. So the idea here is to dedicate just 15 to 30 minutes each day to really concentrating on learning.
Yeah, short bursts of focused attention.
Right. And this could involve using a textbook, a language app, an online course, whatever works for you. But the key is to focus on a specific grammar point or set of vocabulary each time.
Exactly, yeah. Have a clear goal in mind for each study session. And what's so great about these short bursts is that they prevent mental fatigue.
Right.
They allow you to process the material more deeply,
Right.
and it just reinforces the idea that language learning is a daily priority, even if it's just for a short amount of time.
Okay. And then we have regular speaking practice.
It's a big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the one that everyone dreads.
I know it can be intimidating, but it's so important.
It really is. It's a vital daily habit for developing fluency and confidence in your target language.
Exactly, yeah. Because fluency isn't just about knowing the words, it's about being able to use them quickly and naturally in conversation.
Right. And this practice can take many forms. It could be as simple as talking to yourself out loud.
That's a great one.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a little silly.
But it works.
It really does. It gets you used to forming those sentences and hearing yourself speak the language.
Right, you get over that initial fear of making mistakes.
Yeah. And you can also connect with language partners or tutors online or in person. Or you can even use language exchange platforms.
Yeah, there are so many options nowadays. And speaking of making mistakes, that's something that came up a lot in your responses. The fear of making mistakes?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge obstacle for so many language learners
I get it. But it's so important to embrace errors.
because they're not setbacks.
No, not at all. They're opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. So don't let the fear of making mistakes hold you back. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll become. And you'll learn from those mistakes and improve your fluency over time.
Right, because those mistakes are actually showing you what you need to work on. They're like little signposts guiding you towards mastery.
Okay, so we've talked about these 4 key habits. But why is daily consistency so important? Why are those small actions more effective than those occasional cramming sessions?
Well, the information you all provided is really clear on this. It significantly improves retention.
Because those regular review sessions and the practice help move information into your long-term memory.
Exactly. And those SRS tools we talked about, they're designed to optimize that process. Plus, consistent exposure strengthens the neural pathways involved in language processing, so you're literally rewiring your brain to be more fluent in the language.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing what our brains can do. And consistent speaking not only builds confidence, but it makes using the language feel more natural. It becomes second nature, like riding a bike.
Right, you don't have to think about every single word or grammar rule, you just start speaking.
Exactly. And regular exposure also helps you internalize the natural rhythm and intonation of the language.
The music of the language.
Exactly. And that's something you can't learn from a textbook. You have to hear it and practice it over and over again. And the final piece here is motivation. Setting achievable daily goals and seeing your progress.
Right, because it's so easy to get discouraged when you're focused on that big, long-term goal of fluency. But if you break it down into smaller, more manageable steps, you can actually see yourself making progress.
Exactly. And that feeling of progress is so motivating, it keeps you going. It prevents that feeling of being overwhelmed, which we talked about earlier. Okay, so now that we know why consistency matters, how do we actually build these habits into our lives?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Wow.
You all shared some fantastic strategies for making language learning a part of your routine. One that I really liked was the idea of linking language learning to existing habits.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one, like turning your morning coffee routine into podcast time.
Right, or your commute becomes an audio lesson. You can even change the language on your phone or computer to get passive exposure throughout the day.
Exactly, yeah. There are so many little tweaks you can make to your environment to surround yourself with the language. And don't forget about the power of time blocking.
Time blocking, yes. This is so important. Actually, scheduling those short study and practice sessions into your day, just like you would schedule a meeting or a doctor's appointment.
Exactly, yeah. Because if you don't make time for it, it's not going to happen.
Right, life just gets in the way. So make that commitment to yourself, put it in your calendar, and stick to it. And another important point is to set realistic goals.
Yeah, don't try to do too much too soon.
Right, it's better to start small and gradually increase the amount of time you're spending each day. Break down those big, long-term language goals into smaller, more manageable steps. And be sure to celebrate those small victories along the way, because every step you take is a step closer to fluency. And finally, make it enjoyable.
So important.
Yeah, because if you're not enjoying the process, you're less likely to stick with it. So incorporate your hobbies into your language learning.
Absolutely, yeah. Watch TV shows, films, listen to music, read books, whatever interests you, find a way to do it in your target language.
Right, because the more you enjoy it, the more you'll want to do it. And that's what's going to make those habits stick. Now let's talk about some of the challenges that you all brought up, because let's be real, language learning isn't always easy.
Definitely not. There are going to be bumps in the road.
Right, there are going to be days when you lack motivation, days when you feel like giving up. So how do we overcome those obstacles?
Well, first of all, remember that creating a routine creates its own momentum. Once you get into the habit of doing something every day, it becomes easier to stick with it.
Right, it becomes automatic. It's no longer a struggle.
Exactly. And seeing those tangible results, even those small wins we talked about, can really boost your motivation.
Because you're proving to yourself that you can do it. And what about the fear of making mistakes?
Yeah, that's a big one. But remember what we said before, mistakes are opportunities to learn. So create a low-pressure environment for yourself where you feel comfortable making mistakes. Find a language partner who's patient and encouraging. Or practice speaking out loud to yourself when no one else is around. The more you do it, the less scary it will become.
Absolutely. And what about those times when you feel like you're hitting a plateau?
Yeah, that can be really frustrating. But it's normal. It happens to everyone. So don't get discouraged. Instead, try varying your activities and resources.
Right, mix things up. If you've been using the same textbook for months, maybe it's time to try a new app or find a language partner.
Exactly. And take some time to reassess your goals. Are they still realistic and achievable? Do you need to adjust them? Sometimes a little bit of reflection can help you get back on track.
Right. And what about the biggest excuse of all, lack of time?
Ah, yes, the classic "I don't have time" excuse. But remember what we talked about earlier. Micro-learning, those small, consistent moments of learning can really add up over time.
Right, so even if you can only spare 5 or 10 minutes here and there, that's still valuable time that you can dedicate to language learning.
Exactly. So get creative. Optimize those small pockets of time. Listen to a podcast while you're getting ready in the morning. Review flashcards while you're waiting in line at the grocery store. Every little bit counts. And I think it's really inspiring to hear about how others have successfully incorporated these habits into their lives.
Absolutely. You all sent in some amazing stories.
One listener shared that they significantly improved their listening comprehension just by listening to podcasts during their commute.
That's awesome. And someone else saw huge vocabulary growth through daily flashcard review.
It's incredible how those small, consistent actions can lead to such big results.
Right. And another listener shared that they overcame their fear of speaking and boosted their confidence by practicing conversation with a language partner every day.
That's so inspiring. And even something as simple as changing the language on their phone led to passive vocabulary gains for another listener.
Yeah. It's amazing how many opportunities there are to incorporate language learning into our lives. So the main message here is that language fluency isn't this massive, insurmountable hurdle.
No, it's not about cramming or memorizing a bunch of rules.
It's about building those consistent daily habits that fit into your life.
Exactly. Small steps, repeated consistently over time, lead to big results.
So the actionable takeaway for you today is to commit to incorporating just one or two of these strategies into your daily routine, starting today.
Yeah, don't wait. Start small, make it a habit, and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. By embracing the power of those small, consistent actions, you are building your own unique path to language fluency.
You're in the driver's seat.
Exactly. So I want you to think about it. What small step will you take today to deepen your connection with the language?
It could be anything. Just start somewhere.
And watch yourself grow.
Absolutely, you got this.
All right, thanks for tuning in to the Deep Dive, everyone.
And happy language learning.
See you next time.
That's a wrap for today. I hope you're feeling more confident with your English. If you enjoyed the lesson, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more quick tips on daily lessons. Stay tuned, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next video. Keep learning and keep growing.